waiting on somebody at the doctor's office, and I was watching the Malcolm Jamal Warner case with the wife, and I said, I got to talk to my people. I got to talk to the people. Just saying, hey, like I said, just a quick check in. Feel free to chime in. What are your thoughts on the situation? I hope it's not too loud where I'm at. I hope it's not too loud. But we're going to just chit chat live a little bit about the need to have your important documents in order. Do you have your important documents in order? What documents am I even referring to? No matter how old you are, do you have a will? Do you have a power of attorney? Do you have a medical power of attorney? Okay. Do you have a trust? Is it irrevocable? Do you have life insurance? These are things that we need to have in place. So if something happens, our family is not messed up. These are things that we have to have in place. So we're going to just talk it out a little bit. Do you have these items? So for those of you who may not know what's going on, Malcolm Jamal Warner, the guy from Cosby Show and other shows, you know, we lost him last year, tragic accident, and now his wife is actually suing her mother-in-law. She's suing her mother-in-law. Yep. She's suing her mother-in-law because she says that he owes her money. He said in a prenup that he was going to, according to her, I don't have all the facts, of course, but he's supposed to put her name on $1 million life insurance policy. She says that he would have took care of their child together. And I believe that. But if it's not in writing, it never happened. Today, guys, hey, I'm just live, sitting here, chilling, waiting on somebody at a doctor's appointment. And I was listening to the report about Malcolm Jamal Warner, his wife. So my conversation really quick is, do you have your papers in order? Do you have your papers in order? Something happens to you right now. So let's talk about it while you're still living. We'll talk about it from a few different aspects. Okay? I need to eat breakfast, y'all. But this is passionate. I'm very passionate about this. I'm going to tell y'all why. So first of all, let's talk about it if you're still living. Do you have a power of attorney? Do you even know what a power of attorney is? There are different types of power of attorneys, okay? So if you're 18, 19, however old you are, especially as an adult, because if you're a minor, your parents will make decisions for you. But if you're an adult, and especially as you get older, who's going to make decisions for you? Who are you going to let make these decisions if you're laid up to pull you off of life support, you know, or to take care of your finances? Okay, so let's talk about them a little bit at a time. Because I'll be squirrely. So, for example, when my mom and dad both of them were in the hospital at one time, they both were in the ER. It was the craziest thing ever. I had zero access to their money, zero access. My mom needed her diabetic medication, and I had to put it on my credit card. Thank God I had a card, but they had money. I had zero access to it because I wasn't their affiant, or I wasn't on their power of attorney, so I could act in their behalf. Okay, so you need someone to be able to speak for you. Again, they had money, but I couldn't even access it, so I had to put it on my credit card. So who's going to speak for you if you can't speak for yourself? You on your way to work, you're in a car accident. Okay, you're on your way to work in a car accident. Who's going to speak for you if something happens? So you need a medical power of attorney. You're saying, hey, yes, I want my boyfriend, I want my mom, I want my dad, I want this person to speak up for me if I can't speak for myself. Okay, then again, you need a financial power of attorney. So we talked about medical a little bit. Who's going to make those medical decisions for you? Financial. Again, I could not access my mother's money, my father's money, and they're laid up in the hospital to get their medication to save their lives. So that's something that you got to think about. Then do you have a will? Do you have a will? Who Do you want to get what? If you got a stuffed bear, a stuffed Mickey Mouse, and he's worth $5,000, who you want to get the stuffed Mickey Mouse? Who you want it to go to? Okay? These are things that we have to think about. And most people don't like talking about wills. Most households, they don't want to talk about it because people think if I talk about it, I'm going to die. That's not true. If you don't put it in writing, it never happened. If you don't put it in writing, it never happened. Hey guys, thanks for joining. Today I'm just talking really quickly about the need to have your paperwork in order, your power of attorneys, medical, financial. Okay, now we're talking about wills, because what happened with Malcolm Jamal Warner's wife, again, she's saying, well, he said he was going to give me $1 million life insurance policy. The kid is 9 years old. He didn't make any changes to the trust. So he had a trust. Now they're trying to see what type of trust. Can the trust be changed? Can it be, you know, so now she can be written in after the fact? No, whatever's going to happen, we need to handle it beforehand. You cannot wait until after the fact. Well, my mama told me she was going to give me Big Mama house. If it ain't in writing, it never happened. My dad promised me such and such and such and such. No. If it's not in writing, it never happened. Has this happened to any of you in your families? I know it has. I know it has. Everybody fighting over everything. Well, my mama told me she was going to leave me the car. Is it in writing? And again, we're going to go culturally. There are cultures where they do sit and they discuss this and they let everybody know where everything is. They ain't got to go scrambling through the house. My father had a safe. My father had a safe at the house. My mother didn't have a key to it. So we thinking, oh, what's in this safe? What's in this safe? So we actually hired a locksmith to come out. We hired a locksmith to come out to open the safe. What was in the safe, y'all? What was in the safe? What was in the safe? A pair of socks. A pair of socks. And some paperwork that wasn't worth nothing. Some balled up papers. Nothing. But we didn't know that. We did not know that. And even financially, where are you is a good conversation, especially as you age, to have with your family, you know? When my dad was being put in, we had to decide, you know, if he was going to nursing home or not. I'm arguing with my mom. I'm like, Mom, he want to go home. He want to go home. He really wants to go home. And my mother like, I ain't taking all my money to support that. I cannot. I got to eat after something happens with your dad, you know? And I'm like, why he can't come home? I'm thinking they had more money than they did. So she knew what they had, but that was a conversation where it could have looked a little bit differently, you know. So sometimes we're too private. So again, where is everything located? Even where's it located? You know, it's an act of love. I listen to Dave Ramsey a lot. It's an act of love to have a love box, some kind of box where all the documentation is located. In case something happens, you know who to call. I have a friend of mine, she's planned out everything. So again, I'm not trying to be gloom and doom, but I'm talking reality here. And I've seen enough in my life where I know if it's not written down, it never happened. A lot of times, again, you scrambling, trying to put stuff together. And even for your own health care that you'll receive, people need to know. So just talking about it, preparing, and all that, you know, if you have a 401k, who's the beneficiary? Have you even taken time to put the person's name on there that you want to have it? Are you divorced and now you don't want that one person to have it? You forgot to fill it out? You know, these are things, again, that people don't want to talk about. I see this every day in my work that I do. And then you got to go behind the scenes and try to scramble and figure it out and remove that person's name. Put the person you want to have it. It shouldn't take 9 years. It's an act of love. As a matter of fact, for those of you who, I got friends in their 50s and stuff. They don't know where nothing at. Husband pay all the bills. Wife can't do nothing if something happened to him. He knows where everything at. She don't know nothing. Nah, guys, we gotta wake up. How you know he ain't leave everything to his family? How you know she ain't leave everything to her brother? How you know that? How do you know that? You thinking, oh, I'm good. My husband would never do that to me. No. I've seen some stuff. Okay. Oh, that motorcycle is so loud. Yeah, you like, oh no, my husband would never do that. My wife would never do that. You don't know what people might do. Have it in writing to the best of your ability and get a copy of it. And get a copy of it. Have it in writing. You know, I had another friend one time, and when the mother was lost, if the father had just signed, if mom had signed just one document, dad could have stayed in his place for the rest of his life. He was like, but she didn't sign it. She didn't sign it. So we have to do better. As part of your financial planning is, again, not just saving money, but who do you want it to go to? And nowadays the buzz is generational wealth, but if you don't have everything in writing, and then here the property's not willed to the correctly, or you don't even have nobody's name on there, it's going to probate. So now the government, the state, got what you didn't work for, and you talking about generational wealth. There's no wealth. The government's gonna have it. Y'all never heard of stories like this? Can you relate? Is there anybody you can think of that you like, you know what, Kimmy is right. Kimmy's right. Do you even have your own documents filled out? I have power of attorneys. Some of the stuff, this is another point too, guys. You may have this stuff filled out, but then your person that you had representing you, they die. That happened to me and my husband. So we have our documents. We had everything ready to go, and then my parents passed. His dad was one of the beneficiaries and stuff on some of his stuff. So now I got to go back, and I did change all of that already. I've changed it to new people, a new power of attorney, and everything. But the same thing with you. When is the last time you checked? The person that you had that was going to speak for you in case something happened, are they gone? Are they gone now? So, when you watch the news, don't just watch it. Watch it with a purpose, okay? Watch it with a purpose. I don't do nothing without a purpose. What can I learn? What can I learn from this situation? Everything is a teachable moment. It really is. So when I heard her story, and my heart broke for her, for those just joining, we're talking about Malcolm Jamal Warner's widow. He said that he was going to change it. Well, that was 9 years. And as women, we got to speak up. You got to speak up for yourself. Don't let your husband be like, I'm going to change it, babe. I'm going to change it. No, his mama might get everything. You don't know she's going to be fair with you. They were asking in the news report I was watching, what's your relationship with your mother-in-law? Basically. This was from last year. This was before all this even happened. And she's like, well, she's grieving, we're grieving, whatever. And nah, don't trust that. You the one married to that man. You the one got the ring, okay? You the one doing all the stuff. So I'm not trusting that he gonna just do the right thing. We need to see it. We need to go to the lawyers together. Okay? We want to talk about everything else but the most important stuff. And especially as you get older, you want to be protected. Now, with your 401k, your spouse cannot just typically, now there's a fraud workaround for everything if you get the right shady person. But typically, your spouse cannot withdraw from the 401k without your knowledge. They cannot just take you off. Hey, Larry, they cannot just take you off the 401k without your permission. So there's a spousal consent form that has. So that's what I do in my actual job. I notarize these kind of documents. So there's an actual spousal consent form that your spouse has to sign if you're not going to have them as the beneficiary, or if you're going to take money out of it. So your spouse can't just say, you know what, I think I'm going to take all the money out the 401k, go buy me a Mercedes-Benz. Oh, you are? And you didn't tell your wife? Yeah, that's not going to work. Hey, CL Jackson, what's going on? So today we're just talking about protecting yourself, being loving to your family, making sure they're provided for. And again, I'll ask the question, do you have all of your important documents in order? Are they in order? Do you have the top, I'm going to say 5. Let's see, can we, I think it's 5. Power of attorney financial, power of attorney medical. Do you have a trust document? Do you have a will? And what else? Oh, advanced medical directive. What are your final wishes? If you don't put it in print, your family's fussing at the bedside in the hospital. You may not want to be laying up there in a vegetable state. You may not want to be laying there on life support. Somebody feeding you with tubes and milk hanging, that fake milk that they give you in the hospital. You may not want that. But if you don't tell your family, and if it's not in writing, and again, let's rephrase that. If you don't put it in writing, because you can tell them anything and they forget, or under pressure, they're not able to make that decision. So when I was losing my parents, it was very easy for me to, not easy, it was still hard, but I'm saying easier to make those decisions because they had already expressed what they wanted. They had already expressed what they wanted. Oh, what's going on the freeway over here? It's like a highway. They had already expressed what they wanted though. My mom was like, I don't want to be laid up like that. My father, like, I don't want to be laid up like that. So when those situations arose, it wasn't like we had to fight it out between me and my siblings. Well, I want this, I want that. We talked it out, even though they had told us what they wanted. It's a hard choice when it comes to end of life matters. It's very hard. It's very hard. So it makes it easier when it's written out. It takes the pressure off of them. A lot of people live with guilt after the fact. And even now, I have guilt. I have guilt sometimes. I'm like, well, my mom didn't want this, but what if I had did that? Was it going to change the outcome? It wasn't. It wasn't going to change the outcome, but you still feel guilty. You still feel guilty. You always want to, I could have did more. I could have did more. I could have did more. So, but when you write it out, do you want to be cremated? I know this is all like a lot. It is. But you're going to look back on this video and be like, thanking me one day. Do you want to be cremated? Can you save your family some money? Most people don't want to talk about that. They don't. Back in the day, I used to be like, nah, I want to be cremated. But now I'm like, I done seen a lot, been through a lot. Yeah, you can. That's what, $1,500? You can even go to the Cremation Society. And if you want to in your state, that's cheaper. That's another option. But a funeral is like $10,000, $15,000. Don't be larger. It even costs more if you plus size. I mean, let's go. I'm just telling y'all facts today because this is on my mind. It's on my mind. So, again, what do you want? What do you want? Ease that pain for your family. People doing GoFundMes. And nothing wrong with that if that's what you and your family want to do. But if you cannot afford a funeral, the person can't afford it while they're alive. How are you going to afford it when they're gone? How? Now, I had one family member. She was very specific. It's like, this is what I want. Da-da-da-da-da. The money was there. After this, you do what you want. Bam! You took care of that. You planned that. It made it easier for everybody. But you don't have no money, and now the family got to try to raise a GoFundMe? No. You need to have that conversation up front. Hey, kids, I know that when something happens to me, you may want to give me this luxurious funeral. I cannot afford that. I'm okay with you doing a cremation and maybe a nice service. My mom, I lost her during COVID, so I ended up doing like a nice video. And my mother didn't want anything anyway. She didn't want nothing for her. She didn't want nothing for my father. And I was like, no, he had a whole life. We're going to celebrate it. We're going to celebrate it. Now, what did that look like? It looked a little different. So it was, again, during COVID when I lost my dad. And at the end of COVID, the beginning of COVID when I lost my dad, and the end of COVID when I lost my mom. And neither one, like I said, wanted anything big. My mother used to say, I don't want nobody come looking at me. If they wasn't here for me when I was alive, they ain't got to come look at me when I'm gone. So that made it easier for me. So I didn't even have to plan anything, for either one. But I was like, I'll be doggone if my father don't have a video. So I did a video representation of his life. I did one of her life, and they both were extremely beautiful. I was able to put my spin on it. I got input from my siblings, and it was absolutely amazing. Okay, and we didn't spend $15,000, $20,000. I didn't have to set up no GoFundMe, So, and again, there's nothing wrong with that. But again, you just want to make sure that you express your wishes to your family. Don't put an unnecessary burden on them. Okay? Do not do that, because it's enough to deal with grief when the person is gone, and now you guilty. Well, should I have did the $15,000 memorial or the funeral? We can't afford it now. That's on a credit card bill, and now somebody got to pay for that. I mean, it's just a lot. Have you guys experienced any of this? Or am I just talking to myself? I can't believe no one has a comment on any of this. I can't believe I can't believe no one has a comment and has not seen any of this, has not been through any of this. I had one family member, they couldn't even afford to bring him. He's a very, I don't want to say too much because I don't want somebody might be watching, but a family member where they couldn't even get the body because they owe money to the funeral home. You know, let's not people. We got to be real. If y'all have a family conversation and y'all don't have the money, you can't get the GoFundMe in a certain amount of time, we ain't sitting the body over there and then like, well, you know what? Now he's stuck in limbo. No, we got to talk now. We got to talk now. And again, I ain't being too trusting on this. I'm not saying, well, my husband told me he's going to take care of me. He told me, no, I don't care what he said, how long you been married, I got everything in writing. And you better have it in writing too. And let me give you one more tip too. Get medical insurance, not medical, life insurance while you're semi-healthy. If you still in your 50s and you got a measure of health, you're in your 40s, your 30s, go ahead and get a life insurance plan. Get a 30-year term if you don't do nothing else. I'm a Dave Ramseyite, so I preach Dave Ramsey stuff. So get you at least a term policy, and that way, in case something happens to your spouse, you will be covered. You will be covered. Or a small policy on yourself, so your family doesn't have to worry about it. Now, again, if you already know, hey, I don't mind being cremated, I'm going to make sure I have at least a $5,000 policy to take care of that. Boom. That's all you can afford. That's fine. Nobody said you got to make everybody rich. But you do need to talk about these things, okay? And again, I'm going to talk about that life insurance really quick. And you want to get the life insurance while you're healthy. Your health can change overnight, okay? Your health can change overnight. So where you could have got a $500,000 policy today for $20, you mess around, your health ain't no good. Next year, you won't even be able to be insured at all. Okay, so these are things, again, people not thinking about, especially for my women folk. Make sure you got that man insured, okay? Make sure he's insured. I'm going to tell you, don't play around. Oh, my husband's healthy. He work out every day. People are dropping like flies. People are dropping like flies. Get him covered. And also for my men folk, really quick. You may say, well, I'm the breadwinner. If something happens to my wife, I don't need her to have a policy. Wrong, and wrong. And especially if you got small children. But in this stage, your kid's probably older. But regardless, have a policy on your spouse, your wife. Yeah, you do need a policy on her. Why? Because when something happens, you don't have time sometimes to process everything. You might have to take off work for 2 months, 3 months. You might be that person you think if you lose your spouse, you agree, and I'll just pick up and go and I'll be good. You know, after a week or two, they give you 3 days bereavement. What is that? You might need more than that. You know, after my husband lost his dad, he couldn't go back for a while, like almost 8 months. He just could not go back. So, but imagine something happened to me and he don't have no coverage on me and now he got to try to figure it out. Nope. Have that little extra policy. Get one on your wife too. Again, a lot of times people think, oh, I don't need one on her. I'm good. No, you do need one. You do need one. You need one on your wife, at least a small one. And wives, you definitely need one on that main breadwinner if it's that husband. Okay? So guys, I'm gonna get off my soapbox. But again, that was on my mind, so I had to come and talk about it. And drop your experiences in the chat. We'll talk about it on another session or something. But I know y'all got some experiences around this topic. Do you have your documents in order? Do you? Do you? All right, I'm out of here. Until next time, guys. Bye. Thanks for hanging out with me.